Hello, welcome to Wasting Time podcast. I'm Chris, here with Nick. How's it going, Nick?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
I'm all right. This is really weird because for the listener, we just caught up 2 minutes ago, and now we're doing a fake catch up. I
Gosh,
can't, I can't be
gosh.
bothered to pretend.
Let's just move on from the
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 pleasantries.
false small talk and
Yeah, exactly.
get straight into which band is making a comeback this week.
Which band is mate? What are you talking about?
What? It seems like every week at the moment there's a band from like 10 years ago that have announced they are making
Yeah,
a comeback, doing a
I
new
see.
album, or
I
like
see. I see.
doing a tour for the first time in 15 years. Like,
Yeah, like for example, I saw Boys Like Girls released a single today. If you remember
yeah,
them.
I like them. Like they were very very corny, weren't they? But I quite liked. What was it? Good, The Great Escape.
Yeah, that was their
Throw
best
it
song, definitely.
away, forget yesterday. And
Did you listen to the one that came out today?
yeah, it's fucking shit.
Yeah, it's terrible.
What's the what was the other big one they had?
Oh, Thunder.
Yes, 2 days away.
Yeah,
That was a bit
yeah,
corny, but yeah,
yeah, yeah,
it's good. It's a good song. Yeah, so they're making a comeback. Anyone else? So the starting line are kind of touring again at the moment.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
oh,
There is people.
Gaslight Anthem released some more music again, haven't they?
Yeah, that was a few weeks ago. Did you like it?
Yeah, and I would say it's more older Gaslight, early Gaslight than later Gaslight. Well,
Yeah,
the kind of choruses, which are quite like.
yeah. I really like that song. I think the chorus is great. I love the bridge as well. I think it's really nice lyrics, lovely melody. The mix of the song I wasn't desperately keen on, but the song itself I thought was great. So I'm looking forward to hearing more of new stuff from them.
Yeah. The Rancid stuff I've not been. They've released two songs now, haven't they? I haven't thought much of either of. I think we talked about the first song last time
Yeah,
we caught up,
I
but
think we did. Yeah,
yeah, so, not really into the next one they've released. Don't make me do it.
yeah. No, I wasn't that
Uh,
bothered by it. I'll still be curious to hear the album. I'm looking forward to seeing them next month as well.
yeah, and talking of like bands getting back together, there's obviously been bands that announced their disbandment. Would that be the right terminology?
Think so.
Probably. It's obviously Sum 41 announced they're going to release an album and then tour it and then break
and
up.
then that's it. Yeah, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I do wonder if it's a small PR stunt for the release of their next album, but
Right.
it's kind of weird. Like, I get like a hiatus and stuff like that, but like saying you're gonna like disband, I don't know. It just feels like you don't really need to be that final with something like that, do you? Just
Yeah,
say we're just not gonna hang up our gloves for a little while. And,
yeah, and see what
like,
happens because it's very
yeah,
common that a band finishes and then they get back for a reunion
uh,
or a period or whatever. That tends to happen.
it's happening fucking all the time, as we just
Yeah,
mentioned.
exactly.
Until the When We Were Young festival kind of comes around for its booking time of year
Exactly.
for
Yeah.
bookings. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see where they take that album because kind of they've gone through like phases, haven't they, as a band, and they've
Yeah.
never really. I don't know. I would love to see them go back to like early style, but I doubt we'll get that from them.
No, well, we supposedly we are. It's a double
Okay,
album, so heaven and hell. So heaven is going to
that
be
the metal thing.
yeah. So heaven's going to be the kind of old school pop punk they used to do, and then
Uh-huh.
hell's going to be more what we've become in
The
the
one we
last few
don't.
years. It's interesting. I saw Derek talking about it in an interview recently, and he was just like he started trying to write some pop punk songs like for other artists, because a lot of that goes on. And it was his first time writing a pop punk song since like maybe 2006, and so it felt weird. But then he was like, "Hey, I really like these songs. I don't actually want to give them away. I kind of want to keep them for Sum 41." So I think that's how
Right.
it came about, which is interesting.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, Yeah, sounds optimistic for the likes of us.
Yeah, and also I had it. Well, you know this, but this is for the listener. I had a little exchange with Dave Brown Sounds yesterday, and he's up for coming back on the show when closer to the release, so that's something to look forward to.
Cool.
But that'll be good. Um, what else did I want to talk about? Let's have a look. We covered Gaslight Anthem, lots of Hopeless Records stuff. Oh yeah, like there was that Trophy Eyes song. I think I sent that to you. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I've always liked Trophy Eyes. I know you've not been like crazy about them, but I remember catching them at Slam Dunk like a few years ago and like being really impressed. And
Really good live show, is it?
yeah, and yeah, I've always kind of liked their music.
We should get one of them on the show. That would be a cool one.
Yeah, sounds good.
I'm off to see one of our old guests, Tyler from Youth Fountain, next week. So I'll report back how that was next time.
Where are you seeing him?
Just at the New Cross Inn. I think
right.
Because it's Slam Dunk weekend. I think he's playing Slam Dunk.
Oh yeah, cool. Is there much else going on around then?
Yeah, a few things. I think there's a lot
because you're not actually going to Slam Dunk, are you?
No, I'm not. I'm not doing Slam Dunk itself. No, couldn't be bothered. But I'm doing that, and I've got another thing. So yeah, it should be good. Oh, that reminds me. Did you listen to Spanish Love Song's new song?
No, I did see they released something.
Right. I think it's better than their last stuff, but it's just not for me. And I mean this with the greatest respect because obviously Dylan did come on our show a long time ago. Actually came to my flat, and he's an awesome guy, and I'm thankful for that. So I don't want to badmouth his music, but yeah, I just
not your favorite.
It's not my favorite.
Haunted.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
But good luck to them, and I hope it does well. And I know a lot of people who really like their music, so I'm sure they're only going to grow and grow.
Are they over for Slam Dunk?
I think they're playing Slam Dunk. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're playing London the same night this coming Friday that I'm at the Youth Fountain show as well. I've got some friends going to it.
Right. Yellowcard are going to release some music, aren't they? Are they releasing an album or just some singles? Or...
I don't know what the latest is on that. They were teasing something, so something is happening with them.
Yeah, I know Ryan said he would give us some more of his time because he talked to us about Star Wars for.
Yeah, he definitely owes us some more time, doesn't he?
Because he had a tight time limit, didn't he?
He did, because he was late as fuck, if I seem to remember.
Yeah. So maybe we can time down around the release of their new stuff.
That would be good. We'll get onto his management, definitely. Okay, shall we get on with today's show?
Yeah, go for it.
So today we have the San Francisco band Stroke 9. It's in a similar vein to our last show where I spoke to John Hampson from 9 Days. They're kind of from the same era, similar kind of band. They came up with that sort of Third Eye Blind, in that sort of movement in the late 90s, early 2000s, but they're still active. So I kind of talk about their heyday and what they're up to now. It was a fun chat. So here it is. Yeah, let me start by apologizing for because obviously we tried to do this the start of the month, and my internet decided to play up, I think, like 5 minutes before we were due to do the interview. And then I was able to use my wife's work phone to just briefly speak to you, Luke and Greg. So apologies for wasting your time that morning.
No problem. This worked out better because now John's here.
So yeah, it's great to have 3 of you instead.
Yeah, we'll see.
And one thing, things were different back then in the pandemic. Wait, how long ago was it? It was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Firstly, how was were you going to Hawaii, Luke?
Yeah, I was, and it was awesome. I was on the island of Kauai, for about a week, and it was great. Good family trip.
Nice place to spend Easter, I should imagine.
Yeah, it was good. It was very nice.
Yeah, we're all very happy for Luke and his vacation. It's great. I'm off.
I needed it. I've been on the podcast circuit. I needed a break.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit in a second. I have seen you guys cropping up everywhere, which is really nice to see. So where are you guys based at the minute?
Right now we are in San Rafael, California, which is about 30 minutes north of San Francisco across the Golden Gate Bridge. And we're in a very unique studio. John, can you explain the studio that we're in right now?
I'd be happy to. So we are in our recording studio here, which is actually part of the old Lucasfilm ILM building.
Oh wow!
So
can I interrupt you? What does ILM stand for?
And thanks. It is Industrial Light and Magic.
Oh, interesting.
So this room is where they did special effects for movies, starting in the 80s, all the way the 90s, all the way to probably up, I don't know, to mid 2000s. And so it's just a cool building. It's like that's where they shot all the Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and so this is our little studio we recorded a bunch of albums in. So.
But this particular room, anything significant happened in this room?
There was one very significant thing. The CGI for a movie was created for the first time in this room, and it was for Jurassic Park. So the dinosaurs that are running in Jurassic Park, it was actually created in this room back in like mid 90s.
But I thought the THX sound was also created in this room.
Yes.
So that's two things.
There's quite a few things.
There's a few things.
And wasn't the guy who worked in this room kind of a unique character who had like a crazy name?
He was, yes. Spaz Williams was his name.
Yeah.
And there's actually a great documentary out about him right now. But yes, you know the THX deep note that goes, the thing that goes,
of course.
That was created in here,
Yeah.
in the 80s. So yeah,
So a lot of good vibes in this room. We're trying to dismantle those vibes. One
Prodding upon them, as you might say.
This is excellent little bonus history I was not expecting to learn.
Yeah.
Nicely told as well. Oh, that's really cool. So how long have you guys been using that space?
probably about 5 years or so. And we started recording. This is where we started our last album, Calafrio, right?
Yeah.
And so we've been coming in here and recording nights and weekends. It's just been a good vibe. We all live pretty close together, except for Jens lives in LA, and so
Eric lives in LA.
And Eric lives in LA, and so we have to send things back and forth. But the three of us get together pretty regularly and work on things. Mainly just, kind of hang out.
Nice.
Yeah. See how quickly we can get from the work to dinner.
Yes.
Generally. Yeah. So how are you, Chris?
I'm good. Sorry, did you say how am I or where am I?
How and where? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good. Just got in from my day job in time to do this. I'm based in Surrey, which is like southwest of London. I go into the city a couple of days a week for my day job. So busy day today, and I was expecting to do this with my co-host, but he's recently had a kid and he's just tied up all the time. So thrown off a little bit by that, but it's all good.
He broke up the band. He did it. He ruined.
I know. So I'm kind of used to I've been doing a lot of these solo recently, but it's all good. It's funny as well because like I'd say like 90% of the artists we speak to on this show is kind of like in the sort of like pop punk lane, so we've done like bands like Sum 41, MXPX. That's the usual vibe we do, but like we like to branch out of that when we can as well. But I feel like these last couple of days I've had a nice little theme because I spoke to John Hampson from 9 Days just 2 days ago as well. So it's
Oh, never heard of him.
Oh, the other 9 band. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah, we love John.
Good look.
I take it. Did you listen to? Because he was recently on the One Hit Thunder talking about a certain little song. Did you guys catch that? I assume you did.
I listened to that.
Yeah, I kind of live tweeted / texted it to him when I was listening to it. A little corrections here and there, just some things ago. And yeah, no, it was great. We love John. We love 9 Days. We've had a long history with them and a lot of fun with them.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Just the sharing of the digit, like
Right.
Only a few dust ups.
Only a few. Okay, that's good.
Only a few. One major dust up, and the rest were sort of just minor dust ups. But it's just been nothing but love since then.
Really, what happened?
Oh, it's not even.
I'm
really
sure
worth-
he told. I'm sure
He
he told
probably
you all
thought- he
about it.
probably
Yeah,
told
did
you
John Hampson, did he tell you about the time when
He
we
did
didn't let him headline the biggest show of that tour? No, you don't know that
No,
one?
in
I
their
don't believe
hometown.
you mentioned it.
We toured with 9 Days a lot, and
Yep.
it was great. And I honestly, I would say it's 2099, 2000, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And obviously both our careers were skyrocketing, but theirs was skyrocketing a little bit more than ours. And we got to New York, and they're from Long Island, and so we were
Mhm.
playing in New York at
Irving Plaza.
And we were doing a co-headlining tour, so we'd flop back and forth every night.
Yeah.
So go last, whatever that means. Is headlining last? Sure. And so we got to New York City, and it was our night to go last, and they had just gotten to number one. Like, they'd gotten to number one that day.
Right.
And
Okay.
and it was in front of their friends and family and everyone. And when you're the not last band, when you're the second to last band, there's a tight time. It's like you end at 10:15, and that's it, because there's a 15-minute switch over. And so at 10:15, we were very strict, and we're like, your set is done and we're going on. And so we were all backstage.
Well, didn't they no, I think that they asked if they could do like another song.
They asked if they could go a little bit longer,
like do an encore or something.
and we said no.
Well, I don't.
Not-
Was it
we
us?
did not.
I think
We
it
did
was
not.
our like stage manager. Or
It was
something,
our
road
handlers.
manager, yeah.
Our representation
Yes.
said no, but we certainly were not accommodating to any like these guys got to go.
It just doesn't sound like something that we would agree to
No,
do.
we did not.
And
Yeah.
so we were all backstage, and they came off stage to thunderous applause because it was their crowd who were starting to walk out for our set. And someone came and kicked the door of our room backstage in a sign of frustration, and it was funny. I mean, we were inside laughing, and it was very traumatic for them, but we resolved it much later in life and apologized very publicly. It was not cool of us, and we should have given them the headlining slot afterwards.
Well, but we were also really excited to have our first real band feud with another band, and so
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
and and there was tons of press about it. Everyone was very excited.
It was like Oasis, Blur, Mach 2.
It was
The world was talking.
And by press, it was a Angel Fire like update on one person's blog.
Right. But are you serious when you say obviously you made up that it was sometime later, like, or
I think it was a lot later. I mean, I think that
Right,
we sort of
okay.
had like a working relationship with them at the time. We were fine, but we weren't like super buddy with them at the time, because I think, there was just a lot going on for both bands. We were sort of in a similar space and place in our careers, and we were just both really selfish. They obviously had a massive hit that was, everywhere, and they were like, flying off to do the Tonight Show and stuff like that.
yeah.
But we were sort of clinging to the Little Black Backpack hitness, which was not as top 40 and not as big as their song and not as good as their song, obviously. But but yeah, so I mean, but we've become really close in the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years.
I think a lot of it was
Okay.
and we played with them since then too. And at the time when the dust up, and it wasn't that bad, when that occurred, we were more similar and focused and career oriented. And then in the time since we've played with them, and we both recognized that we were one hit wonders at a very unique time,
Mm.
kind of the end of radio, the end of big labels, the end of big money and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we had a very similar experience, and we had a very similar fan base. And so like we can poke fun at each other and commiserate with each other, and also like remember like, hey, remember when like your record company would spend $10,000 for you to do a show in a field somewhere, and they'll be like, yeah, we remember that. Wasn't that crazy? And we'll be like, yeah, that was insane. And so so we have a unique history with them, which is really cool to have. You know, there's like a couple hundred bands that probably have that now. So
Yeah.
Okay.
That's really cool. That's really cool. And then kind of related to what I was asking about, because I think the same guy produces this, but so you were just on Krista Make's podcast this week, which I managed to finish listening to today. I do love his show and like his take on it, like how he just focuses on one song and just pulls it apart. How was it doing that? Like, were you? I think Luke at one point, I think it was you mentioned that you were Less Than Jake fan, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it was cool. He's awesome, and he's just super humble, modest dude. And it was interesting. Like the one thing that I think was most memorable is him like reading the lyrics back to you to your song just in a normal voice, kind of like someone reading, you know, a poem to you. And it was like, this is really awkward. But yeah, he's cool. That actually turned out really well. And we had some kind of connectivity issues while we were doing it. So it was tough. Greg was in one place, I was in another, and it sounded kind of weird as we were doing it, but they did a great job of like editing it all together and making it pretty seamless.
Yeah, no, it came out well. I think it was on that show you mentioned something about how Luke and Greg, you're always doing stuff together, and you said like outside the band you were doing like some tech work together. Like, is that kind of, so I guess what I'm asking is like, how's outside the band for the three of you, how's life look like at the minute? What are you up to outside of music?
John, why don't you go first?
So I do music. I make music for commercials and TV and stuff like that. So I'm still working in music. I couldn't get away. Like these guys were smarter. These guys were smarter than me. I went into tech. So that's worked out well for them. But you know, I'm still just hanging out doing music.
Have you worked on anything TV or commercial wise that I might have made its way over here in recent times?
Yeah. Do you know the movie Iron Man?
I haven't seen it. I'm not a big superhero guy, but I am obviously aware of it.
Yes, yeah.
Where's this one going?
Because I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I kind of realized as I was answering your question, it's like, oh, he's fucking with me. Yeah.
No, I mainly it's been a lot of, you know, kind of jingles, and just did a little company called McDonald's, a little company called Starbucks.
I'm loving it.
Yeah. That and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's fun. Work with a lot of cool musicians and get to write all sorts of different types of music. And it's a different type of music than the music we get to make, because it's not, you're making music for somebody else, and you're kind of, you don't, what you do doesn't really matter. It's only just to serve a product. And so
have you ever been asked to create something that sounds a little bit like the latest Portugal the Man single?
I actually I have pretty regularly.
Yeah.
And for a recent commercial that we did for this last Super Bowl, I won't mention it in case so we don't get sued, but yes, it was supposed to sound like a Portugal the Man song, and I'm not going to mention the song.
Really?
I'll know which song it is.
Yes. It's one of their songs.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, Greg and I are in tech.
Yeah.
We work for a company called Medium, which is a online blogging platform.
Okay.
Medium.com. And
so the lesson here to all the kids who are getting started in rock and roll is It's not going to last, and you're going to have to get a job eventually. But the good news is, you can get a job. You will not be completely unemployable. So that's, keep your head up, write a hit, hope it's a big hit.
And then you're all good.
That's my advice to the kids.
Yeah, I think Huey Lewis said at one point, if you write a hit, you'll get 5 years out of musical longevity from that hit. And that was actually kind of right about dead on.
That's a very interesting equation. I wonder if that's true. Do they compound? So if you have
yes
5 hits, you get 25 years?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, because we got about 5 years of straight touring off Little Black Backpack. And then we all had to kind of say, all right, what do we do now?
That's really...
yeah. So he's obviously going to be able to tour for forever.
I can think of a couple bands. I think there might be some variations in that equation depending on your genre and audience. I think that there are some bands that possibly had one big hit that can make it go longer. I think in our genre, in disposable millennial turn of the millennium rock, that was 5 years is right. But there's some bands that can do a solid 20-year run off of one hit.
I would think of it more as like a sentence. So if you have a hit, then you serve 5 years hard time.
Wow.
And then, if you're like Coldplay, you get like multiple life sentences. I mean, those guys are going to be,
Well, you get there, but then you have to spend 5 years trying to figure out how to outdo your last hit. And then as soon as you break out of that 5 years, we didn't have to worry about that anywhere because then nobody cares.
No.
And you can start over.
And no one wanted it. No one wanted it.
There's also the other side of it. Not to keep referencing the Krista Makes interview, but like he was on about how because obviously his band's still plugging away, have been for 30 years or something, but they've never had a hit. So I guess there's those types of bands that never have a hit like you guys did and just managed to keep going at that sort of trajectory, I guess,
That's an interesting balance.
I mean, it's
which
possible.
camp would you rather be in?
Well, I don't know. I mean, think about Widespread Panic has never had a quote unquote hit, but they play arenas, right? And maybe they focus more on their show and putting on a good show and building their fan base and getting a great live show. Whereas if you have a hit, you're like, yeah, we just all we got to do is kill time for 25 minutes and then play the hit and then get out of there and everyone's going to be happy. So maybe that's a thing too. Not to say that our show, we're a bar band, and so we struggled to keep fans our whole life, and we got our show to a good spot. And I think Backpack came out of us being a good bar band. We built it. We built our set early in our career to a level of drama at the end when Backpack came in, and it has a very sing-along-y chorus and call and response and a lot of room for jams. And so there's something to that. You have to arrive at a song like that. We didn't get Backpack was a great song, but I think we arrived at Backpack through process. We didn't just show up one day like you hear those stories I woke up in the middle of the night and I did 4 chords, 3 or 4 depending, and that was it, and the hit was done. Backpack wasn't really like that. I think we got there eventually. Am I wrong?
No, you are not wrong. It was it's it's a bar band song that is not danceable or fun to
well, in Chris's podcast, he says it is danceable, and that was the one thing where I was
who's dancing to that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe he just means bobbing your head.
Bounceable. It's bounceable.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he was talking about pogoing, which is a form of dancing, right?
Yeah,
true.
Which I guess you would to the chorus.
Yeah. It was a completely different song when we first started doing it, and so it was a long evolution to get where it finally the final song. But it was it was definitely not an instant hit. We had to fight for that one.
Speaking of the early days, can you just tell me a little bit about the early days of the band? Because I know you kind of formed in music class or whatever it was. Was it kind of like at the turn of the 80s into the 90s, like early 90s? And just like what you kind of, I mean, you meant,
Let's just say
Wait, hold on. It was the turn of the.
It was
90s, is that what
89.
you
That's
call it?
89
Yeah, no,
is
that's
when
oh, there
we
we go. Yeah, I don't know why I phrased it like that. I often say
No,
like
it's a
turn of
very
the century,
dramatic-
but like yeah,
You could have
it
said
just came out that
40
way.
years ago. You could have done that too. Like that's.
I could have done that.
We started in right here, very close to here, in high school, as
Yeah.
in you might call it college, university. I don't know. It's very different between
College.
America. They call it college. Okay.
I think so.
I studied all this before the podcast, but I forgot all my Britishisms. And so yeah, we started together, and then it just worked, and we kept it going and kept dipping back into it, even though we all went to American university, and
Mhm.
and we always thought there was going to be something there, and no one else really had anything significant going on, and so but we did. Yeah, we started. We're a high school band. We're a high school band that kept going all the way through, and we're still doing it. And it's funny, you talked about like the out of band aspect of Stroke Nine, and like, what do you guys do? And we're still friends, and we're still friends with a lot of our high school friends. We all went away, came back to where we were, so we're kind of, whenever, and not to say that we're elder statesmen of rock or anything, but whenever I see a young band or kids, or now at this point our friends' kids starting their bands, I'm like, just stay together. Like, if you stay together for long enough, you kind of can't suck, and something's going to happen. And that was a big strength in Stroke Nine, is we honestly just stayed together, and no one got mad. And no matter how much the tension existed or anything like that, everyone's like, yeah, but this is the band. So the band comes first, and then ego comes second. And that's sort of how we got started, and that's how we're still doing it, which is pretty interesting and unique, I think.
Yeah, there's something else to that too that just occurred to me. It's like I don't think we have a personality in the band that's like, and this is a pro and a con, because a lot of bands, that end up getting wildly successful have like a very strong personality that's like, undeniably going to do whatever it takes to make this thing go. I think we were all just kind of going along, having fun, trying to do the best we could, but we weren't like probably making the best business decisions. We weren't, like doing a lot of the things that having sort of more of a type A personality in the band might try, and and that might end up blowing the band up, or it might end up blowing them up in the bad way, breaking them up, or blowing them up in a way where they're just like become a massive band forever.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, because Huey Lewis and the News are a band, even though it is Huey Lewis and the News.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bob Seger's like that too. Like,
he was
Bob
a good
Seger's, and without the Silver Bullet Band, it's not really the same thing.
It's a good point.
Tom Petty and Heartbreaker. Now, Tom Petty. Do we want to talk about it?
Everyone?
Anyway.
Let's go through everyone.
Let's go through them all. But yes, no, I understand what you're saying.
But we're also friends outside of just band, and so I think that's kind of, I don't know if we're just too lazy to try and actually make friends beyond anyone outside of high school. But we are there's a respect that where if somebody doesn't like something, or somebody doesn't want to do something, it's not, we all just kind of listen to each other, and I think nobody's so intent on making sure that their idea wins that they're willing to walk away or get mad. And so that's what's kind of kept us together, because everyone's like, oh, okay, hey, sure, all right, fine. And that kind of is what works in bands, because I don't think it's hard to stay together for this long. I
think Susie Sue might be the exception. I heard that of all the bands, like the Banshees. I mean, Susie has a reputation.
You don't know anything
No,
about
I know.
Banshees.
She's probably a total sweetheart.
Also, apparently, if a band's making a lot of money, that's when they tend to have
Yes.
more fights.
That's when
It's
things
really
change.
easy.
Yeah.
And also, and if you're backing up a once in a lifetime like performer, you're like, yeah, I don't care. Like, sure, I'll sleep in the van as long as everyone loves you. There's exceptions to every rule.
That's true.
Of course.
I mean, not to say you were a great front man. Don't
Yes.
worry.
Oh, yeah.
I
The
mean-
best.
You
The best.
continue to be, but like, you could have gotten a drug problem, or you could have done, you could have punched a cop once in the entire 30 years we've
Yeah,
been
that
together.
would have been a good idea.
Yeah.
Who did you guys want to sound like in those early days?
We could.
we should be able to say this
We
quicker.
should be able to. Going
Wow.
back to the original like rock band class that we did, we covered a lot of what would be considered classic rock. Well, ish, sort of. But we did in there. We did Zeppelin and we did Bowie. We did a Suicidal Tendencies song. We did
Jane's Addiction,
some Jane's Addiction.
Pink Floyd.
Kansas.
REM. And so then when we finally started and we're writing our own songs, I mean, REM was probably the first-ish thing that we were sounding like, probably.
Right.
But listening to a lot of the Smiths.
We were listening to a lot of the Smiths. But then John was listening to a lot of guitar stuff.
Yeah, I think we all came from kind of different musical kind of things we wanted to do musically, because I was with just a guitar dork in all of high school and just like Joe Satriani and Steve Vai and
Eric
just
Johnson.
things that just are just really not anything like what we sound like, but that's what I was into. And Luke was really into the REM type bands and Smiths and and I don't know what Greg was into jazz.
You listened to a lot of punk rock too, didn't you, Greg?
Yeah, you were
Yeah.
punk.
So I don't think we sat down and said we want to sound like this. We wanted to, again, please the crowd. And whoever we were playing to at that point, we would kind of blues brother it and play what they needed to hear at that point, and then developed it that way. We were crowd pleasers, and we remain
We still are.
crowd pleasers. We try.
We played at a local bar the other night and played for over 3 hours.
Yep.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And we did Blue Oyster Cult.
And it was great if you were in the band.
Like everyone in the band seemed to love the entire night.
Yeah.
Getting out to a show is a lot of work. It's hard for if you're in the audience, and it's hard for us too. And so we liked where we are too in Northern California. There's a lot of great clubs and great audiences, and it's San Francisco Bay Area. Like there's a great musical history here, and so people do go and listen to rock and roll still here, not just raves.
That's the only thing I think you're
I'm just thinking like
a couple decades off.
I mean, well, a little bit in San Francisco. When we came up in San Francisco in the late 90s, or to use your phrase, the turn of the 2000s or the 90s, there were a lot of rock clubs, like a lot of rock clubs. And we got to play in a lot of rock clubs, especially in San Francisco. And now, granted, I don't go in as much. I think there's fewer, and I think everything moved to bespoke cocktails with maybe a quiet DJ in the corner. So that, the .com tech guys and women don't get, their ears blasted out because they got to hike in the morning. So there's not as much rock and roll, but up here where we are, we have a bunch of clubs, and we can still go and be loud, which is really fun. And so we're doing that more. I'm sure everyone talks about how difficult touring is. We're at the very tail end of our touring careers, but it's tough to get out there. Like if we wanted to go do Chicago and Atlanta, just do a weekend run, it's going to take a lot to get there and get through it. So right now we're in a Stroke 9 cruising around the North Bay and Northern California playing shows mode of our career.
Got you. So you mentioned in the early days you kind of started in high school or the college period of high school and then went away to university and then kind of went back to it. So at what stage did you kind of like start doing little tours with the band? Was it around that time that you came back to it that you started taking it a little more seriously?
Yeah, we all moved in together in 95 after we got back from university. We moved into a house up in Bodega, California. Don't look for it. It's a little tiny dot on a map, but a really cool town. And we lived there, and that's actually where we recorded Little Black Backpack for the first time, as well as our whole album, which ended up being called Bumper to Bumper. Was recorded in this little house. And at that point, we also bought a book called Book Your Own Tour. And this was a published, actually, analog book we could go to a bookstore and buy. And it taught you all about how to sort of, book a tour, how to call clubs. We started doing that. We would go up and down the West Coast, playing a bunch of shows. We bought an old like ambulance from, I guess, probably like mid 80s ambulance, one of those conversion vans that had been turned into an ambulance. And we toured in that for a few years. And we did a lot of work. Greg printed out a lot of flyers, a lot of handbills. We had like an analog mailing list. We would send out, an actual postcard every time we had stuff to announce. And we were one of those bands that was constantly like promoting shows and promoting ourselves. Yeah.
But like
we would walk around malls in the Bay Area. Then our first tour down to LA, we would walk around malls with the Discman and our CDs and headphones, and we walk up to people and put the headphones on them and have them listen to it, and then try and sell them CDs. And so we ended up selling, I think, a lot of CDs that way, and that sort of funded our tour. And then we played a bunch of empty clubs all around, and it just kind of started building from there.
When you would do that with the Discman, was Little Black Backpack always like your first go-to song to hook them in those days? I guess you would have had it by then if you'd recorded Bumper to Bumper.
We did have it by then.
I think Washin' and Wonderin' was our go-to, wasn't it?
I think honestly, now that I think about it, I think we would change the track depending on the person that we were targeting. So we're doing a little bit of marketing on people. And because Backpack's intro is a little slow and it doesn't grab you as a
I was just gonna say, because you'd be like, no, just hang on a sec, let it get to the pre-chorus. Then
just slow down, let's sit down and have a drink. I think we would start something more. It was probably Washington.
I feel like Bingo too we would do.
Yes.
This song called Bingo that has a very catchy, quick intro.
I mean, we would literally walk up to people in the mall, put the headphones on them, play it, and say, "Do you like this?" And
do you like us?
Do you like us? Will you validate our existence? And even if they didn't like it, I think everyone walked away with the CD. Some people bought it, some people just walked away with it because that was our esteem at that point.
And I think we really like established ourselves in San Francisco. At a club called Mix Lounge, and there was a club called Paradise Lounge. Those two places, and they were kind of different audiences, but we built our audience in the city, and that was kind of the place where we didn't have empty clubs. And there was actually a place down in San Diego that we would go and play fairly frequently where people would show up. And that kind of gave us this notion that maybe there was something there. Because we were playing very regularly, maybe like once a month or once every couple months at these clubs and to packed crowds. And then we played at this place called the Sweetwater in Mill Valley, which was also a very small bar at the time, and it was, it would be sold out. And that's where we met this attorney who heard Little Black Backpack, wanted to hear the CD. We gave it to him. He ended up kind of helping us find our way in the LA music scene and get the opportunities that ultimately ended up getting us in front of some label people who got it, and many that didn't get it.
Yeah, and there was probably, I think it was late 90s in the Bay Area, all of a sudden became a real scene because we had Third Eye Blind got signed, then Smash Mouth got signed, and Train was here, and then Green Day had been there for a little while, but it became like a scene, and so you had there was just a lot of people out at clubs liking rock music and packing in all the different clubs, and you were started getting people showing up from LA, all the people at labels like the A&R guys, and so it just started a buzz around that time, and that's kind of how we got signed, as it was a scene.
Right. So did you end up playing in those during that period before you got signed? Did you end up playing many shows with people like Third Eye Blind or even Green Day or any of those?
Yeah,
No.
We played with Third Eye Blind and Train.
Yeah, we played with them a lot.
We played with Train a lot. Did we play with?
Yeah, we played with Third Eye Blind at
Paradise.
Paradise Lounge, I think. Yeah,
they came to the show and they brought Anna Nicole Smith. I remember that.
Yeah,
which was like the greatest late 90s moment of all time. Yeah, we played with Train a lot. We opened for Black Lab at the Fillmore. That was a big one.
Yeah,
that was a showcase. We played with, and then there was Creeper got their deal.
Creeper
Protein got their deal. Crumb, that band, got a deal.
Mm-hmm. Oleander. They were from SAC.
Yeah. But yeah, it was Paradise Lounge was just, those were the greatest days. There were hundreds of people going to see rock shows, stand in lines to see rock shows. Like, could you imagine that right now?
Yeah. And then they called them showcases where we played. I think that was the show at the Fillmore, and that's when all the A&Rs came out. And I remember we had Rick Rubin there, Guy O'Siri, and who's that guy? Freddie DeMann.
Oh yeah.
All just like the biggest A&R guys at the time.
Yeah.
Of course, we were most blown away by Rick Rubin.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he didn't sign us, but it was still pretty cool to see him there. But that was the scene in the late 90s. Just everyone was just out trying to sign everyone that could.
Was that showcase did that lead you to get signing with someone though?
Mm-hmm.
That one, maybe.
I think that was the one. Yeah, that was where Daniela and
Oh.
Jolene were there.
Yeah, Jolene Cherry.
Yeah. So that's when we signed with Universal, was shortly thereafter.
It was insane.
It was fun.
It was fun.
Ridiculous.
And they took us out to dinner at the fanciest restaurant in San Francisco and ordered everything on the menu. Just
Post Trio.
Yeah, Post Trio, and just ordered everything and said, "Here, this is how we order." And so we signed shortly after that. Like your style.
But luckily they kept the receipt and they billed it back to us after we got signed. So
Yes.
technically we bought.
Yeah, it's that dinner has cost us about $500,000.
We're literally still paying for that dinner.
That must, I did hear you talking about that on another show actually. The fact that they made that recoupable is quite amazing, really.
It's cool. Like, I think by the time we were signed and by the time anybody signed, you don't go into a contract with a record deal thinking they're good or like it's a smart thing to do. It's a trade-off. It is, kind of a deal with the devil. And it's sort of like, yeah, they're going to give us a bunch of money and it's going to be awesome. And any money that we're going to try to make is not going to be from selling a record. It'll be from touring or merch or whatever. And so, you're realistic about that, to make money off of a sale of a song, you have to be stratospheric. You have to be getting into the millions and millions of albums. And that's hard. And so we were under no, false pretenses that like this was a smart thing to do, but you do it because it was fun, because we got to go all over and have sushi dinners and someone loaned us the money to do all that stuff. And it was like, cool. No harm.
Yeah,
no
exactly.
foul. And it would have been great if it worked out, but and it worked out great. We got to do a lot of fun stuff, but like, did we make money off of selling an album? I don't know. I don't really look at the money and I'm not involved in that part, but I seriously doubt it.
Somebody did. Somebody made money.
Somebody did.
Not us.
Like, did my bank account go from, did I get any zeros added to the end of my bank account? No, I did not.
But you got to make an exciting record in nasty little thoughts, and
Yeah, I
obviously,
mean, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you if
well,
I
there you
didn't
are.
stuff,
Yeah.
and like it's great. It's an amazing ride. It was no regrets. It was so fun.
Yeah, it must have been amazing making that record, obviously, with the producer you had as well. Were you kind of like when you were making it, and obviously you had Little Black Backpack, which was, I think you were pretty confident was going to be the hit from, or at least the lead single from the record. When you were making it, were you just like, hey, we could be making this could be something really big, like as that was coming together with those songs?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we were pretty optimistic at that point once we got the final version of that song and then the rest of the album too. I mean, we were getting
Yeah,
really good feedback, I think, from people who bought the album. And a lot of people still today are like, oh, I listen to that album all the time, and it's still like a start to finish kind of album for me. So I think we're all still really proud of that. We're proud of all the songs I think that we do and all the albums too. Like everything we've done, we really, and I'm sure all bands and musicians do that. Like you don't intentionally put something out that you don't like, or you put all your effort into everything you do. And yeah.
Okay. We didn't put everything into every single.
Well, not
one.
everything.
There's a couple that we had to let go.
We've cut some corners over the years, I think.
Well, we did put it out an album that was called Songs We Didn't Love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So we're calling it out. So
Yeah.
I actually do like a lot of songs, most of the songs on that album though.
yeah, it was fun for us. I mean, because I think we got to experience that making an album that way of record company very involved, producers very involved, and that's a great experience. It's difficult to follow that up because people want you to write the same song, and there's no way to do that. And so then you have to figure out what to do next. And I think we had a lot of fun after that, trying to write music. And I think one of our coolest albums is All In. Yeah. Where we just ended up doing it in our bedroom. It was like the first Pro Tools little M box they made, and we just got to experiment and mess around and do stuff that and without anybody telling us anything, and that was great. And so that's how we've kind of done music ever since. And so we've kind of got to experience both sides of it.
That's good.
A lot of money involved.
Oh, so you guys, so you're still making music after Backpack.
Yeah. And when I say we're not just trying to recreate Backpack every time, I'm lying.
We literally tried to recreate it with Kick Some Ass.
Yeah.
Because Kick Some Ass was the lead single on our second album with Universal. And we, on Little Black Backpack, we were like, what are the things about Little Black Backpack that resonated? And we had, one of those conversations, and the label was obviously like, you guys need to write another Little Black Backpack. And we were like, well, it was in an odd time signature. Let's do another song in an odd time signature.
Did we intentionally?
That was it.
We didn't intentionally do it, did we?
Did.
Yeah, we did.
I remember having those
did.
conversations.
Okay.
Daddy is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
we
my
did it.
God.
So we're like, so that one was in 6/8. Let's try 7.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know we intended.
Kick Some
it
Ass
makes
is in
sense,
7.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I don't remember the actual conversation. Maybe I was late there a lot. It was hard to get to the studio. Yeah.
And that song did end up leading to one of the coolest things we've done, which would be in the Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back video and movie. And so.
And since that experience, have you done another song in an odd time signature?
I think that was it for us. On
Yeah,
time
that
signatures.
kind of closed the door on that.
So that's smart. So we did it twice,
Yeah,
and then
both
we
times.
immediately
Yeah.
abandoned that concept.
Yeah.
That's wow.
Awesome.
Well, there's still time to give it a third go.
Well, we're
That's
in the
true.
studio. We're
Yeah,
sitting
let's
in the
do it
studio
now.
right
Yeah.
now. We did 3. We did 5. So we could do a 9, 13. Is that a time
Yeah.
signature?
We'll call System of a Down and get see what they suggest.
I don't know how aware you guys were of, like, obviously you were doing reasonably well in the States with when you did Nasty Little Thoughts, but like how it was worldwide. I'll tell you a little bit about my experience of finding out about you guys. So it would have been late '99, and on MTV UK at the time, they used to have a show called the US Top 20. And, I don't know if that was officially the Billboard or the Hot 100 or whatever it was, but I remember on that chart, you guys were number one. And I just remember like watching the video and I was like, okay, this sounds like it's in my kind of lane. And then obviously when the pre-chorus came in and then the chorus, and I was just like, this is fucking amazing. But like it was such a different time. I was just like, okay, let me write down the name of that band because I couldn't just jump on Spotify or whatever. And it was like Amazon was a thing, but you couldn't just readily order a CD from anywhere in the world. So I remember I had to go into like a local record store and get them to write it down and order the CD on the import. And until that happened, I remember I used to go on the MTV website and they used to have like Real Player that brought up like clips of songs. And I could only listen to like the first 45 seconds of the song, but I remember just listening to that on repeat until I finally got my copy of Nasty Little Thoughts, which I, excitedly listened to and then was massively disappointed. No, I'm just joking. It was it was full of great songs as well, which led me to getting into you guys. It's funny you mentioned like people still say to you now about that record and how much they love all the other songs on it and other songs that stand out to them. So I was talking to I don't know if you guys would have come across them, but there was a band they were on Virgin. They were called Over It. They were from I forget I think they were California based, but they were kind of in the punk scene, but then branched out. But they had a moment. But I'm friends with the singer of that band through this show, basically. But I told him that I was talking to you guys, and I was like, Little Black Backpack, and he was like, I'm more of a Letters man. That was always an important song to me. So you get people saying stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great story. Well, thanks for sharing that with us. That's interesting.
Yeah, we got to London once. We didn't get overseas too much. We were also a little bit pre-Napster. Like I think Napster really started to kick in at the end of that quote unquote album cycle. But we had one ill-fated European jaunt where we did London, Amsterdam, Milan.
Yeah.
And that was it. Just 3 places, and no one loved us or cared. And
it was bad timing for us though too, because we had our record company Universal, I guess it split with, I think it was Polygram or something. So right at the time we were supposed to get promoted overseas, because anytime there was an American band that had a hit, they would just then push it in different countries, and that, so they split up, and so it was just all sort of fell apart. And then we went over there for our first tour, and
first in, I believe, last.
Yes,
and also only.
Yeah, there were some. Mistakes were made.
We made some bad choices.
It was an epic trip.
It was fun.
Probably one of those memories.
Can you remember the venue you played in London?
Oh man, I think it was
some guy who pinged us about it the other day.
Wasn't it downstairs? In a sort of
it was not much. It was a
cool
club.
though.
It was a club,
underground kind of club. I remember it really dark. Sounds like every club.
Yeah,
but I think it was downstairs for some reason.
Well, okay. So
Ghost, do you know it?
Start walking around London and look downstairs.
London's not very big.
No. Do you remember what part of town it was? Vaguely, was it central-ish? I know it's going back.
I feel like it was central.
I remember the hotel lobby bar. I mean, I remember that vividly, what it looked like. I don't remember the name. I remember the flight out.
I remember the bathtub in the room.
I remember the record label. I remember going to the label office and being like, it was like, I don't know much about London, but it was where I imagined Mary Poppins' boss went and worked, that bank. That's what it was like. It was very fancy and very old school. And I was like, this is where the label is. This is like a museum office. and then it only went downhill from there. Amsterdam.
Yeah, we had a lot of mishaps.
Yeah,
a lot of bad decisions were made. Yeah, yeah. Just leave it there.
Yeah. Fair enough. I'll not press too much on that one. It wasn't the 100 Club you played in London by any chance, was it?
Well,
that's a what?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Sounds kind of familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because that
We
club
were
still
great. We were
exists.
great.
It was
Like-
pretty small. I mean, it was probably like, I don't know, 300, 400 people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, at the most. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it could hold. I mean, there were 5 people that were. No, it was a decent crowd, if I recall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember we had the Eve Six singer on here a few years back, and they only played London once, and it would have been around the same time as that. And like, I wondered, like, it would make sense if labels were sending you to go and play
That's
that venue.
Yeah.
possible. Yeah.
Probably.
Like I mean, at a certain point, we realized that they sent us to Europe just sort of as a thank you for working so hard in America. And they're like, well, we'll send them there for a little vacation, but we're not really going to care. But I forgot about that whole polygram thing. That's true. That
I mean, that's
was
what they
happening.
told us.
Yeah.
The reason, or so we're just going with that
Kick
as
this
being the
ass
reason
for a man.
we weren't successful.
They oversaturated.
We sabotaged ourselves in Italy, though. That was us.
Oh, really?
And that's not a terrible story. Like, that's fine. We Jerry Harrison produced our album, and so that was a big story that we always talked about. And we were in Italy at the end of this ill-fated tour, which wasn't even a tour. It was like a week. And we were a little tired and a little discouraged by the time we got there. And so our sense of humor is sarcastic or to lie or something. And we'd answered the question, how did you meet Jerry Harrison, so many times? And the true story is pretty boring. We contacted his agent and said, will you make our album or something?
Yeah.
People would say, how did you meet Jerry Harrison? So we came up with this cockamamie story. We're from San Francisco, and we said that we met him in a bathhouse, and that we were all in the same bathhouse, and one thing led to another, and we established a relationship. We thought it was funny. It implied that we were having a homosexual relationship with Jerry Harrison in a Catholic nation, and there was going through a translator live on the radio station.
Oh, okay.
And so we thought it was funny. We're like, oh, that's a funny bit. Like,
A harmless bit.
At a bathhouse and not a relationship with him, a 4-way. And so we walked out.
5-way?
Yeah, it would have been a 5-way. And we walked out, and there might have been a couple other guys there too. Honestly, it would have been a 7. And we walked out of the studio, and our rep, our European rep and like PR person, they were standing out there just like, oh my God, what did you guys just do? And we're like, what are you talking about? Like, that's kind of a funny bit. Like, that's a solid bit. They're like, that was not a solid bit. It didn't go over well. It didn't translate. Like, the radio station's not loving this. And we're like, oh, yeah, but our bad. Like, whoopsie.
And then the same basic thing happened when we went to Amsterdam as well, where we showed, I mean, a band going to Amsterdam for the first time is, obviously just a recipe.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah. So we had the interview with the big radio station in Amsterdam, and we had all gone out the night before, and Greg got jumped. Like, we were walking down an alley, a few of us got jumped, and Greg got, a guy came, put a syringe up to his neck, and and so we had to run away. He got out of it by giving him, I think he gave him a lighter, right?
Lighter.
Your Giant's lighter, and got his way out of it. And so then we had our interview the next morning, and only 2 of us made it. 2 guys just, we don't have to say who made it or not, but 2 guys just were just lost in the city. And we had our big interview at the radio station, and 2 of us showed up, and we had to try and perform, and we didn't have everyone. And it was just, I just remember looking over at the A&R guys, our rep, and just so disappointed in us. Like, guys, are you kidding me?
What was the instrumental version of Backpack like?
Well,
it wasn't strong. And it's just funny because, like, in the United States, like, we would show up for like 7 a.m. radio shows with like 30 kids and cranked, and then for some reason we got to Europe and we're like, this isn't happening, and we didn't take it.
No,
that's why we're not back.
Yep, that was it.
Yeah.
But our tour manager was smart enough to write in Sharpie. He wrote his phone number on all of our arms so that in case we got lost, we would call him. And so we did get a call at about 10 a.m. and
Yeah.
had to go around and retrieve people around the city. It was good. It's not smart though.
One more
That's why.
quick question.
That's why you never saw us in Europe. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Which is a shame. Which is a shame. But at least you got that brief experience.
We
of
went
it.
out. It's better to burn out than to fade away.
Right. Yeah, exactly. One more random quick question on Nasty Little Thoughts. I remember watching and wondering, I remember hearing a version of that in Malcolm in the Middle randomly. I was like, oh, that's Stroke 9. And that version of the song is different to the one on the record, and I can't find it anywhere. Do you know if that exists anywhere? Because it's got a different, the lead that comes in after the chorus is a bit different.
I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube because we were having this conversation the other day with our friend Michael Urbano, who's internationally known drummer and also producer, and he was asking about our experience working with Eric Valentine, who is a producer who is a genius producer who did the big Third Eye Blind album and the Smash Mouth
done all
hits and
sorts
stuff like that, all sorts of stuff. And we actually had Eric remix and do a different version of Washington Wonderin' for Malcolm in the Middle.
Oh, okay.
Also because I think it was actually because we were going to release that song as a single, and we didn't think that the Nasty Little Thoughts version was kind of like, I don't know, didn't have the right mix or something, one of those conversations. And so he did, and he added he had some ideas from extra parts. John added a killer new guitar parts. I believe it's on YouTube. If you Google
it's
Malcolm
on
in the
YouTube.
Middle, Washington Wonder, and I think you can hear that version.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll have to look again because I did look, and there was one that says it's that, and then you listen to it, and it's clearly the album version. So I had to find the clip from the show when it's playing. But I'll look again because I that version sounds really cool. I'd love to hear the full version of it.
It's quite different sounding. I just A/B'd it the other day in the car with Michael in the car, and because we were listening to the Nasty Little Thoughts version, he was like, oh yeah, this song's like whatever, and then I put on the Eric Valentine version. He's like, oh yeah, this is what it should sound like. And I was like, oh, okay.
Well, the version we play live is much more of that rockin' type, the same arrangement and the heavier guitars, and so whenever I hear the album version, I'm always like, wait, what happened here?
What did we do?
Yeah. But yeah, I think we were always trying to, especially at that time we were coming out, everything was heavier, and so we were always trying to make things heavier.
Yeah,
for better or for worse.
Yeah. And the shows that we played on, most of the radio shows at that time, it was Stained and Incubus and Disturbed and Limp Bizkit and I don't know who else. And us, and it would be we'd be
Insane Clown Posse.
Yeah, we opened for Insane Clown Posse.
We played, who we played with POD a lot.
Yeah.
POD.
Crazy heavy bands.
Yeah.
And then us. And then 9 Days. We opened for Creed. There was one we played in Midtown Atlanta, and I think we were opening for Creed. Not that Creed is that heavy, but it was just at that time things were a lot heavier than us. And we did adapt. But in Midtown Atlanta, we got hit with so many bottles of dip spit.
Oh man.
I know this is an international podcast, but in America, you chew tobacco and you spit it into a plastic bottle. And if you're happy with the band or if you're unhappy with the band, you just decide to throw that bottle as a tribute or as an insult. And we got a lot of dip spit thrown at us. It was fun. We opened for Insane Clown Posse.
Yeah.
I think we got
interesting.
One of us got a 9-volt battery thrown at our guitar, and it was just a bunch of kids in the front row with the face paint, juggalos as they're called, just staring and just giving us
off.
just thumbs down.
Let me move on quickly to Rip It Off. Obviously that was the follow up. Did you obviously you talked about kick some ass, which was kind of you were trying to arguably write another Backpack, but I feel like there are a few songs on that could have been hits. Do you kind of feel a bit frustrated looking back at it, in how it what it did or didn't do for you. And also another question on that. I saw on Wikipedia like Butch Walker was mentioned on that record, but I was looking at the credits on Tidal and I couldn't see him on any songs. So was he like, did he work on that record with you? And if he did, what did he do on it?
We were in Atlanta.
That was a million questions in one go.
We'll start with the Butch Walker one. We were in Atlanta and we had this song called Do It Again that we had like written on the bus one morning. And I specifically, for some reason, remember that the morning that song was written was the same morning that the first iPod was released.
iPod, yeah.
iPod 1 came out. And so you can do the math or look it up whenever that was. Butch, we knew Butch just from, I think, touring, and he was kind of a legend in Atlanta at the time and still is, but he had a little studio and he was like, why don't you guys come in and we'll just record this song. And so, or we'll do a demo of the song. And so we went in and we demoed Do It Again, and Butch was there producing it. And, he actually sings on some of the harmonies on that. Okay. You can hear his voice in the background. I think he goes, woo, and maybe a couple other things.
Some clapping, probably.
Some harmonies. But, and then when we went to do the final mix of the record, we were like, oh, let's pull that session up and like get it mixed and do a proper mix on it. And all of that session data got lost. And so all we had was this like original bounce of the song from that demo. And that's the version that's on the album. And so it's a cool story. It's,
that's a testament to how good Butch Walker is. He Uno'd it like on a demo, and a rough mix was Butch. And I think he went on to do good things. I haven't been following his career super duper close, but I think he's doing okay.
He's definitely doing okay for himself, I'd say.
Yeah. We really helped him launch his career.
We also just saw their Marvelous 3, which is his band. From back in the day, just announced a show, a one-time reunion show in October of this year in Atlanta at the Tabernacle, which is the place we all used to play. Great room. So if you're listening and you love Butch and Marvelous 3, go to Atlanta in October.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll be there. We'll be outside the venue trying to get in.
Back to the original question. I'll throw it to the team. Other songs on Rip It Off that you think had potential that just didn't get to that kick some ass level? I myself, let's see. I mean, Latest Disaster is the opening. I think that no, we did a version. Oh, I'm not going to talk about the Kick Some Affleck version of Kick Some Ass. That would have been a hit. Latest Disaster, though, I think that one. I think we had good intentions with that song.
I think Vacuum Bag is the one that comes to mind in terms of like more of like top 40 hit. And we did end up putting a lot of effort into that. And we had this guy, John Shanks, who is this massive producer of the day. And we went in and worked with him on that to try to get it just right. Those
two songs, Vacuum Bag and 100 Girls.
100 Girls.
We had a couple days off in Nashville. We were touring, and just I think it was just one night we were up late and wrote both those songs, and it was just kind of a quick thing that happened, and it was. And then we worked with John Shanks and other people to make them into full songs and produce them. But I think that album I especially like Vacuum Bag and because I think it was a little more dynamic and I think, like I said before, we are always trying to be heavier. People are trying to make us heavier than we were, and because I mean, like we were saying, we came from more of a poppier REM type thing, and but playing but getting hit by POD fans makes you kind of rethink what you're doing. so we made things heavier and so I like Do It Again and Vacuum Bag because they're a little more dynamic songs I always loved and thought they could have been hits.
And David Kahn produced 100 Girls, if
Yes.
you remember. David Kahn is another well-known producer, and we ended up working with him on that song.
Yeah, he did a song. He did a band from Long Beach
Oh yeah,
called
LBC.
Sublime.
yeah.
Oh
also-
yeah, I
Sugar
assume people
Ray.
may have heard of them.
He does Sugar Ray. Yeah,
Yeah.
so he was great. He was really fun to work with too. Well, that was the same thing. We were in. This is crazy. This was one of those fun, amazing rock and roll moments. We got to go to a studio in Los Angeles called Henson, which was originally
RCA,
A&M, I think, or something
A&M,
like that.
yeah, A&M.
And so, the first album had been successful, so we had a little bit of money, and people were willing to put us up with these big producers. And so, we got Con to go to Henson to record 100 Girls, and we were in the big studio, and we got there the week after they were recording Chinese Democracy. So they were disassembling Buckethead's chicken coop, right? Buckethead, he records allegedly in a chicken coop. So they were taking that down. We got that room. So we had that room, and then in the other room we had Shanks, and we were doing Vacuum Bags. So we were in two studios, and then in the back studio was, I want to say it was Poison was there. And then we saw Kiefer Sutherland walking around, and like it was insane. We're like, we're so in Hollywood, it's almost unbelievable. And it was a solid like 3 days. It was only like 3 or 4 days. It was crazy.
The funny thing about 100 Girls is it was actually, with the original way the song went was to all the girls
And
I've
then,
loved
the
before.
lawsuit was happening too.
So to all the girls I loved before,
Who left me passed out on
left
their
me
floor.
passed it on the floor.
Yeah.
And so we were about to release the song like that, and because it quoted those lyrics, the record company sent it to the songwriters, which is Burt Bacharach and
Albert
Hammond Sr.
Who
And
is the guy from the Strokes' his dad?
yes,
who was
and
Albert Hammond Jr.
Albert Jr.'s dad. Yeah.
yeah, and so then they sent a cease and desist, like you cannot release this song. And
No, he was gonna personally write a letter to every radio station
yes,
and to like BMI and be like, I do not approve of this, and this is not parody. Like, I don't approve. They cannot do this, and you can't play that.
yeah,
And we were also suing the Strokes for trademark infringement
Right.
that week. We had a lot. It was pretty
exciting.
good. It was a good week. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh wow,
Yeah.
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 crazy times.
That's quite a week.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about you obviously touched on it before, the Jay and Silent Bob experience. That must be something surreal looking back on that.
Yeah, that one, boy, we'd done Kick Some Ass, and it was out there to go around as our first single, and somehow Kevin Smith got a hold of it, and I can't even say exactly how.
Yeah, I think that it
probably
was-
just got shopped to him or something.
Yeah, it was. I think it was our record company was putting out the Universal was putting out the movie as well, and
Right.
and so they put Afro Man, Because I Get High, and Kick Some Ass into the movie, under the soundtrack, and so that was sort of the way we got connected. And then I think they came up with some other video ideas, and Kevin Smith was ultimately like, these all suck, I want to come up with my own video idea. So then he came and directed it and was in it with us. And
No, he didn't direct it.
oh, that's right, he didn't direct it. He came up with the treatment.
He came up with
And
the
then
treatment.
who directed that?
Gregory Dark,
Gregory
Who's he?
Dark,
porn
a very
director.
well-known porn director, was the guy that they chose to direct the video. Gregory Dark. Yeah, you can look it up.
Look up his work.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all flew out to
We stayed in New York.
Jersey. Yeah, because Jay couldn't leave town. He had some.
Troubles with the law.
Yeah,
Couldn't leave
so-
the state of New Jersey, so we all had to go to New Jersey to do it.
Yeah, and I was very hungover. It was a rough day.
We had a good night out in New York. I
Yeah, we
think,
had a
the
good night out
before.
the night before.
Had to be done.
Yeah.
And it's funny because later on in life, Jay and the original bass player of Stroke Nine, this guy named Stephen Heath, became friends and were in movies together. So
Really?
it seems
Wow.
we're keeping it all in the family
Yeah.
across decades. It's very cool.
And we got to go to the premiere. The movie premiere was really, really fun. That was a pretty epic night.
Yeah. We
Hanging
got
out
to
with
party with
Afro
Afroman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really? What was he like?
He was having a good
He's-
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was
He was,
as you would imagine.
But the
yeah.
crazy thing about that song is the Jay and
Which song?
Silent Kick Some Ass.
Okay.
And the Jay and Silent Bob fans and the Askew-niverse, is that what it's called? Askew-niverse, I believe. That fan group, you know, in those movies, Mallrats, the Jay and Silent Bobs, Sing Amy, Clerks, and everything like that, are so dedicated. And like whenever we trend or we come up or we interact with someone on social media for some reasons, like name a song from whenever, and then people will be like, oh yeah, I love that song in Jay and Silent Bob. And it always comes up. And it also, there's a lot of crossover to the wrestling community for some reason. And
Right.
and so we'll get that, you know, that little bump, and people will be like, oh yeah, I remember that song from the movie, and talk about an amazing fan base, and always been very cool to us. And like, it's like, oh, cool. Yeah. You know, and it worked perfectly in the movie, and the video was fun and funny. And it was a very specific period in time, as his movies are, that are a great little capsule. And it was great. I mean, what a great thing to be included in.
Not quite as great as John Hampson's experience in Everything Everywhere All at Once. I want to give a plug to John.
Yeah, we definitely had touched upon that when I spoke to him the other day. That's very surreal.
Crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy.
so happy for him.
Good for him.
He deserves
Yeah.
it though. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
He wrote the hell out of it, or
Yeah.
they did.
Maybe taking a little bit too much credit. What about the rest of the band? I mean, come
That's
on.
what I said.
I know. Well, I'm just saying he's doing the press tour on it.
I'm conscious that we've been going a while here, so I just want to move things forward a little bit, and then I'll try and get to wrapping this up, because I don't want to take up all of your guys' morning, although there can't be much of your morning left at this point. So like after Rip It Off, obviously that kind of did what it did. I mean, how long after that?
You can say what happened. I mean, that's sort of your question.
Well, I was going to say after it, I don't think saying it flopped is a fair thing to say, because as far as I'm aware, it's still a decent record. It just wasn't a smash hit, like, okay. After it perhaps didn't do what you might have wanted it to do, how long did life change for you? Did you go back to like maybe not doing the band full time? What was that transition like?
Well, to set the table, I mean, the thing came out 2 or 3 weeks after 9/11. And
Okay.
And there was also boring shakeups at the record label, like the president changed over and our A&R loses their clout with that people. And so it was sort of like uh-oh, typical record story thing. So then yes, that falls apart. And then it's sort of a slow decline. Like, you go out and you do another tour. And then we were also trying to tour it in a post 9/11 concert world, and not a lot of people were going out, and they certainly were going to big radio shows. And then what happened? I don't know. Then you're like, okay, let's regroup. And are you going to go the Sister Hazel route and like really organize yourself and start putting out records, or what are you going to do? And yes, we did put out a record. Like we said, okay, we don't need to.
Mm-hmm.
We started working with, when I say we, I mean you, with what's his name, Third Man or whatever, or what was
Rockridge, the Sister
Rockridge,
Hazel's
yeah.
label. Yeah, no, I think we pretty quickly realized we went on a couple tours. We got, after we had been in tour buses and private planes or private plane. One, we did a few tours in the van again. We actually got our ambulance back out, and then we sort of saw the writing on the wall there that this is going to get pretty depressing, and you're gonna, sleeping on people's floors or shitty motel rooms, and then I think we just kind of realized, okay, we don't want to go this direction. We could do this, but we'll all get terrible drug habits and be just very unhealthy lifestyle, which is fun when you're in your early 20s, but
not in your early 30s.
No.
Right.
So that's
or
when
40s or 50s.
Yes. might start getting fun again. I don't know.
It could.
So then we just sort of realized, okay, then we all started doing other stuff, and then just realized, okay, we're going to do this for fun now, and not try and do it full time. And
yeah, I think we were very good, and we worked really hard to get to the record label point. We were organized, and we were self-promoting and making our own music. And then after sort of, it's not that the record industry collapsed, but it certainly changed because you had streaming and you had 9/11 and things changed, that you were going to get organized, and you were going to be like, okay, we're going to put out our own albums, and we're going to promote them ourselves and do everything, book ourselves and organize our fan base and get them to shows and stuff like that. Like, that's running a legit business, like very, very much running a business. And it's hard, and you have to be ready and up for it. And it's a big gamble. And we weren't quite to that level. And so, like I said, Sister Hazel came up with the rock boat, and like, they're like, yeah, we're going to get all our fans on a boat and we're going to do this thing. And I think at one point they were organizing with their own travel agency and like made it into a legit business. And we just weren't quite there, and still not quite there. But it gave us, what we did start to move towards is, we can put out our own albums. And so with the rise of home studios, as John said, like, and then streaming services and stuff like that, now it's great. Now we can put out our own albums and do it more on our own terms and our own pace. Am I wrong here?
Yeah, and we're just doing it because we like to do it, and that's the only reason we really ever did it anyway. We just happened to, write some songs that got picked up by a label and pushed to radio. So we're kind of back to doing what we did, and even when we just do these local shows, it's a lot of fun, and we're having a good time with it. So kind of the goal at this point.
It's cool that you transitioned into doing it like that, the band becoming that kind of band without splitting up or anything. I just think that's admirable. Sorry, what were you going to say, Greg?
Yeah, no, now you are making your own music still, Stroke 9.
Yes, we are. We are. Yeah.
Tell me a bit about that.
You can find it on Spotify.
Yeah.
And we have been trying to release just singles as frequently as we can. We're in a bit of a lull right now, but we'll be back soon with some hot new tracks.
We had a pretty solid pandemic run. We put out a lot of pandemic music.
We had a great pandemic.
Yeah.
You did a lot of content in the pandemic.
We did.
Yeah, content is king. Yeah.
Yeah. So like you mentioned, you've had a few singles in the last year or two. One, 2, 3, 4 is probably my favorite. Which,
oh, nice.
And then the last full length was about 3 years ago now.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. It was 2020, I think, January of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't seem like that long ago, but here we are.
Yeah.
Calafrio. Yeah.
And are you looking at doing another full length in the next couple of years, or are you preferring just to do the kind of the singles for now?
I think what we're planning on doing, and I haven't spoken with these guys about this, but this is my plan, to continue doing these singles and then put it all together as an album. So
makes sense.
So do a group of singles and then kind of package them all up, the ones that people like. So obviously 1, 2, 3, 4 is now going to lead off the album,
and might be
I'd never heard anyone like anything else besides that.
It's immediately catchy, in fairness.
Yes,
that's if you were going up to people with a Discman now of the new stuff, that would have to be your first one.
That would be our lead off. Yeah. Yeah. So that's our plan to do, hopefully another album soon. But I think it's just fun for us to get together and record and it's and just put it out and not think too much about it. And what's great is you can just kind of get easy, quick feedback and see if people like things or
Yeah.
not. And it's kind of, if they don't, it doesn't really matter because it's just they disappear pretty quickly if nobody listens to it.
So if there's someone listening now who only might be just familiar with Little Black Backpack and is maybe not as familiar with stuff in recent times, what for each of you, what's the best song in the sort of last 15-20 years that you guys have put out that someone should go and listen to get back into you guys, if there is anyone in that position? Because I'd like to think everyone's kind of stayed loyal and with the band since. Or if it's people who are listening and aren't as familiar with Stroke 9 at all.
Well, what does John like? John likes Lake.
Yeah.
Not you, John. 9 Days, John.
Oh yeah, I hate that.
Oh, right, okay.
That's his big song. He was a Lake guy.
Was he? I don't remember.
I think so.
I'm a Rod Beck guy. I like Rod Beck. I think that song's really fun.
I am a Calafrio guy. I like it. I think it's a bit different, but it's cool.
Yeah, it's really easy. Just go to Spotify and sort by most popular, and then get to the first one that you don't recognize and give that a try. We're all slaves to the algorithm right now.
You know what song I really love by you guys in the sort of post major label days? It's going back a little while. It's from your 07 album, but I love that song Salutations. I think that often makes playlists for me. I love that one. It's a deep cut I enjoy.
Awesome.
Yes,
yeah, check that one out.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, we haven't talked much about Jens, who's not here, but he is one of the key songwriters in the band today as well. And
right,
Salutations is one of his. He was maybe the primary songwriter of that song. So great song. Yeah.
Okay. Shout out to Jens.
Yeah.
Do you guys get recognized much these days from people who who remember from when you have the big hit? Does that happen very often?
You mean like when you're walking down the street, somebody coming up?
Yeah, exactly. When you're doing your
the guy from that
normal life.
Yeah.
What?
Man, you of course. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I enforce recognition on people, barbecue or something, or at a bar, and be like, yeah, no, yeah, you know me, trust me. Yeah, go look it up right now. Google it right now. Look, see, I told you, you know that song. I told you, you know that song.
That's my name in the credits.
Yeah, exactly.
John definitely does. He likes to talk about with his friends, talk about Stroke 9 a lot. So they recognize that he was in that band because he's told them.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I usually will just kind of give them autographs when they don't even ask for it.
Proactive autographs.
Yeah, just in case. And sign things. But no, not at all. But my kids, they think that I'm super famous, which is great because they're always telling everybody that I'm on the radio all the time, and so I don't really.
It's funny because people say to me all the time, like, "Oh yeah, I always hear your song in like the supermarket and Home Depot," and I know that's a lie. Yeah. We don't get played in Home Depot or in the supermarket because obviously we see the royalty statements.
Of course,
none of them are on that. But I've never ever heard it in the wild. It showed up on XM the other day, and I got 5 texts within 20 seconds, and I'm like, well, clearly they never play it on XM because everyone just sent it to me. So
yeah,
I've heard letters out in stores before.
Have you really?
I have, yes. I literally have heard that.
Which
stores are you going to?
The stores where I was controlling
AARP, or
pretty much. I think it might have been Story of a Girl, but I thought it was Letterman.
Well, it's one of the 9 bands, so
Yeah, exactly.
I hear the Eve 6 song, and I'm like, that's us. Close enough.
Actually, funny you mentioned Eve 6. That kind of segs me. I can segue into the next question. I promise that I can wrap this up in a sec because we're pretty much coming to the end. But so I mentioned that we had Eve 6 on this show before because we kind of I always think of them as sort of from the pop punk world, whereas you guys perhaps not so much. I think like more pop rock or whatever. But like what? I mean, obviously, I already asked you about Less Than Jake, but do you have any interest in the kind of that sort of Warped Tour scene at all? Like, because I guess you kind of came up adjacent to it. Like, are you fans of any of that kind of music? Because I guess Luke, I'd noticed you did do a Saves the Day cover when you were putting out the Chill covers, and they're from that world.
I love Saves the Day. Bad Religion. I mean, yeah, we like.
I don't know. Unwritten Law. We were into.
Oh yeah, we had Scott, the front man, on this show not that long ago. Actually, he's a character. I don't know if you come across him before.
Yeah, and yeah.
I mean, we were never close to Warped Tour. We weren't. That was We never would have been considered for that. We have an appreciation for it, but we're a little different than that. We never considered ourselves punk in any capacity. That's for sure.
No, right? Yeah, exactly.
We started to get it lumped in a little bit, but that was just more of a time thing. So we'd love to be asked for Warped Tour. Is there a seniors tour?
Is there a side stage for olds?
Where like the parents can go and hang out. But yeah, no, I mean, obviously we have an appreciation for all those bands and we played with a lot of them, but we were never any in that pop punk. I mean, like if someone asks us to describe like what were you, the default is sort of alt rock, and I think alt rock over the years has become its own. Third Eye Blind and us, and I don't know who else is alt rock. Like
I don't know, but I just had a great idea. The Warped Tour could rebrand as WAARPED.
That's not bad.
Yes, that's good.
That's kind of that just writes itself.
Do you know what the AARP is? Do you know what it is?
AARP is.
It's in the United States. It's the American
Association of Retired Persons, I think.
Right. It is persons. It's not people. Good job.
So I think when you turn
I'm close.
50, they start sending.
No, I have a while. Okay.
When you turn 50, they start they send you an introductory letter, and it's like, "Welcome to old age," and then they start sending you stuff, and you get all sorts of benefits. You can go to the movies for less, and
the Warped Tour.
And the Warped Tour.
There you go.
You get senior seating like at the Fillmore or something.
Most of those Warped Tour bands are in their 50s by now.
Oh
yeah,
of course. Like Blink-182, Mark
Hoppus,
Hoppus, he's over 50.
Bad Religion, those guys are definitely over 50.
Oh, comfortably over 50. Yeah.
What about Sum 41? Those guys are still in their 20s.
Yeah, those guys
will never grow up.
I'm 40. They're a little closer to my age, I think.
Yeah,
probably a couple of years older.
Babies. They were babies when we were on tour.
They
were literally like I think we were 28 and they were 18. They must have been. They got to be 10 years younger than us. Yeah.
We had Dave from that band on our show before. He was a fun guy. He was sure. That was really cool. Actually,
great.
I can't imagine what their experience was. They were so. I remember playing some shows and looking at the side of the stage where they were standing, and I'm like, those kids are so young. And then they would go on after us, and like the crowd would lose their minds, and they were 18. It was crazy.
It's mad.
Silverchair type.
Action.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy had some stories.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah, we heard some stories about
I don't know.
Take our stories and multiply them by 100x.
No, that's SR-71.
Yeah, he did. He did. Because I was thinking about that earlier when you talked about the 9 days dust up. He went into detail about a Sum 41 SR-71 dust up, which I had heard about prior to talking to him, so I kind of brought that up to see if he would open up about it, and he did.
Oh, we'll have to go back and look.
Oh,
we
nice.
we played with SR-71 a lot too.
Yeah,
Another
yeah,
Another
Jo-
Butch Walker band.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the guy from that band, Mitch Allen, I think he's had quite the lucrative career as a
Yeah.
pop
Yeah.
songwriter as well.
Yeah, he did. He wrote that like Bowling for Soup song, right? Or with them.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did. But I mean, even like bigger than that, like he's been writing. I think the Demi Lovato's last album, like he wrote half of that. So he
I
does
don't need
those
to
kind
hear
of
about
artists.
that. Yeah, that's good for him.
Wait, you're gonna sit here and tell us with a straight face that there's bigger than bowling than soup? That's not really possible in our world. This Demi Lovato, I hope she's having a great career, but like in
Keep things in
perspective.
perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's something we can
Yeah.
relate to here. We're talking
listen-
1-0, not 5 zeros at the end of your bank account.
Listen, guys, I'm conscious I've taken up a lot of your time now. I've just got a couple of like quick fire questions, if that's cool, like to
Yeah,
kind
let's
of
do it.
go around the room, and then
then
we
you can edit
then we
all
can
of
actually
this
wrap this
out.
up.
Yeah. You have an editing system, right?
I do, but I feel like there's way too much I want to keep from this conversation.
Well, Greg and I have been doing these podcasts, and by adding a third, I thought, maybe it would be like a third less talking, but not
Yeah.
like 5 times as much talking. So we apologize.
Yeah.
No, it's all good. It's all good as well. And then like it makes my job easier when you're asking setting each other up for the questions. So I like this. I'm going to request from now on that artists give me at least 3 of their members. Anyway, let me dive into this. There's not many of them, and then we can wrap this up. So I'll ask the question, and then I don't know which order you want to go in. Maybe we go John, Luke, and Greg. Do it like that. But
Sure.
Damn it.
all right. Favorite TV show?
Oh, Seinfeld.
South Park.
Oh, I gotta say it right now.
Don't say Breaking Bad. Don't say Sopranos.
Right now, I'll say
Don't
always.
say-
I'll say Always Sunny right now.
John had the correct answer there.
Oh, okay.
That's what I would have said if I was asked. So
Good job, John.
Thank you.
nice one.
Nick, what was going to be my answer?
You've never seen South Park.
I've never seen Seinfeld.
That was me until I first went to the States, because it was never really a thing here. It was shown, but it was never big, which is
Seinfeld
criminal.
or South Park?
Seinfeld. South
Okay.
Park was big here, yeah.
Yeah.
Favorite movie?
Oh, well, I mean, this could be a tie, but I'm going to change it up and say I'm going to go with Spinal Tap.
Ooh, I'll change it up too. I'll go Napoleon Dynamite.
I'll say the one that we're all changing
all
it away
wanted to
from
say.
is Lebowski.
Oh,
Probably.
nice. Nice.
That's probably the one that the
Yes.
fans watch the most.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm liking this. Like every time, at least one of you's matching with me, because Lebowski would at least be in one of my top 3 as well. So
Yeah.
I like how this.
That's
is
my
going.
top 3.
What's
Lebowski
your
is my top 3.
number one?
My number
Star
one.
Or
Yeah.
It was all. Do you know? It was always Swingers, but I haven't seen that for years, so I don't know how well that's aged, having not seen it for like
It's aged
a
well.
decade.
it's doing okay.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I watched it recently.
Yeah, I do need to rewatch it. Swingers or Sideways, I think.
Oh,
Sideways, interesting.
Nice.
It's a local movie.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course, Northern
Relatively.
California.
Yeah.
4 hours.
If you had to pick one of these two, Third Eye Blind or Counting Crows?
Oh,
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Next question.
that's a no. That's a no-brainer.
That's tough. Well,
That's a no-brainer.
how is that a no-brainer? That is difficult. I'm conflicted because there's things I like about both of them. Oh man, I don't know. I'm gonna go with Third Eye Blind.
I'll go with Counting Crows. I remember when I first heard Mr. Jones.
Yeah.
I think I was a freshman in college or sophomore in college, and it kind of blew my mind. And then when I first heard Around Here after that, I was like, all right, this is great.
No, I love
Yeah.
Counting Crows. And what was it?
Recovering the Satellites.
Got to Get Out on My Own, that
Mhm.
song. Amazing. But
one more day up in the canyon.
Oh man,
man,
one more
come
night in
on.
Hollywood. Yeah.
But
we met.
It's Third Eye Blinded. It's like
It is
come on,
Third Eye
it's
Blind. I mean
like-
that the sound of Third Eye Blind is so good. That album is so good.
That's
But we did get to meet who's the guy from Counting Crows?
Duritz.
Adam
Duritz,
Duritz?
when he was a bartender at the Viper Room in LA.
Oh,
and
really?
We went up to him and gave him our demo tape when we were trying to get signed. So we met him then.
Don't ask him about it. He probably won't remember.
Yes.
No,
um,
that's a good question.
Yeah,
though.
that
That's
is a good
tough
question.
one,
Yeah.
especially for people from the Bay Area. Like that's
Yeah, 2 Bay Area bands.
yeah.
yeah, I'll keep that question for next time.
You throw Train in there because then you're starting to get into like who does it like Train is cranked. No one loves them. I mean, but I love them, and they deserve their props too.
Mhm.
Don't tell Will.
And finally, I mean, if you can't give me one, give me a couple of contenders. But favorite record of all time, or a couple of contenders for that slot.
I would probably say Joe Satriani Surfing with the Alien. No, I would say maybe Metallica Master of Puppets, or the other one would be Paul Simon Graceland.
I'll go with Saves the Day and Sparta. Wiretap Scars, Sparta, and Saves the Day. Be Yourself, is that what it's called? Or the one with
It's your favorite album.
No, do you mean Stay What You Are?
Say What You Are? Yes,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah. I don't know the
Nice.
names of albums. I just listen to them all the time.
I've thought about this before, like Desert Island. It would probably be, if I had to do 3 to get me through it, it would be The Wall, it would be London Calling, and it would be the first G Love album.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice choices.
I think
Um,
about these things more than you guys do.
Who's yours, Chris? Besides
My-
National Thoughts, obviously.
And
And Rip It Off and all that.
Oh, and Playboy. What's Salutation?
Oh, Last of the International
Yeah, that's on
Playboys.
Playboy.
Last of the international playboys. Apart from those three, it would probably be MXPX's Ever Passing Moment. I don't know how familiar you guys are with MXPX, but it's kind of like people you like would argue like who's better out of Blink and Green Day. I'm like MXPX is better than both of them, and it's Jerry Finn produced it, and it's kind of trying to sound a bit like Elvis Costello, and it's just like perfect pop punk songwriting. So that's my one.
Sweet.
nice.
Good one.
Yeah, very good.
Guys, I appreciate this so much. Thank you for giving me all this time this morning. It's been really cool.
Pleasure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks, Chris.
thank
We
you.
appreciate you. Thank you.
I will,
Stroke9.com. Please check us out.
of course,
Check us out.
Follow us on
All
Spotify.
that stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Spotify.org.
And we have a couple shows in California this summer. We're gonna we have 2.
Stroke9.com/tour.
2.
yeah. So listeners, look out for that. Actually, I think our highest listener base is in California, so that is more relevant to our listeners than it is to me, sadly. But next, I do love the Bay Area, so next time I'm there, hopefully that coincides with one of your shows because I would love
And
to
we
see
do
you guys
parties.
and slash-
We do 60-year-old birthday parties, 50-year-old birthday parties, weddings,
Retirement
funerals.
parties. Yeah.
And so if there's any like people over there across the pond who have a bunch of pounds burning holes in their bank accounts, give us a call.
There we go.
Yeah,
That's
that's a plug.
Nice. All right, guys, I'll let you go. Thanks so much.
Thanks,
guys.
Thanks, Chris.
All right,
Take
good
care.
to meet you all. Bye.
Look on